Hi again, Year 5. Today we'll read chapters 5 and 6 of Skellig. But before we do that, let's have a look at the Viper's questions from chapters 3 and 4. The first question asked, what tells you that Michael's mum is an optimistic person? And when speaking about the house, she did say it'll be great again when everything's sorted out. A prediction question, so your answer might be different to the next person's, asks, what does the last paragraph suggest will happen next and what makes you think this? So you might think that Michael will befriend Skellig, or, given that he's not been terribly friendly so far, you might think that the opposite is true. You might think that the garage will collapse because of all that's said about how dilapidated it is, or you might think that the space itself and the secret remain intact. A summarising question asks, in no more than 4 sentences, can you summarise the story so far for someone else in your house? And your answer might be different to the next person, but you might choose to include something about the main character, Michael, something about the fact that they've moved to a new home, something about the poorly baby sister, and of course something about the mysterious man in the garage, Skellig. Okay, we're on to chapters 5 and 6. The Vipers for these 2 chapters. A retrieval question, what is the name of Michael's school and can you name or give the nickname of 3 adults in the school? Can you explain Michael's mood as he travels on the bus to school and what makes you think this? And a vocabulary question, the word auxiliary is used to describe an adult in Michael's school. Look up what the word means and what adults in Minerva might have this same title. Should change that. Okay, so chapters 5 and chapter 6. I asked them at breakfast what was going to happen to the garage now. When they're coming to clear it out, I said. Mum clicked her tongue and sighed and looked up at the ceiling. When can we get somebody to come? Said Dad. It's not important, son, not now. OK, I said. He was going to be off work today so he could get on with the house. Mum was taking the baby for more checkups at the hospital. Should I stay off so I can help? I said. Yes, he said. You can take Ernie's toilet out and scrub the floorboards round it. I'll go to school, I said. And I shoved my packed lunch into my sack and headed out. Before we moved, they asked me if I wanted to move school as well, but I didn't. I wanted to stay at Kenny Street High with Leaky and Coot. I didn't mind that I'd have to get the bus though now, through town. That morning I told myself that it gave me time to think about what was going on. I tried to think about it, but I couldn't think. I watched the people getting on and off. I looked at them reading their papers or picking their nails or looking dreamily out of the window. I thought how you could never tell just by looking at them what they were really thinking or what was happening in their lives. Even when you got daft people or drunk people on buses, people that went on stupid and shouted rubbish or tried to tell you all about themselves, you could never really tell about them either. I wanted to stand up and say, there's a man in our garage and my sister's ill, and it's the first day I've travelled from the new house to the old school. But I didn't. I just went on looking at all the faces and swinging back and forward when the bus swung round corners. I knew if somebody looked at me, they'd know nothing about me either. It was strange being at school again. Loads had happened to me, but the school stayed just the same. Rasputin still asked us to lift up our hearts and voices and sing out loud in assembly. The Yeti yelled at us to keep to the left in the corridors. Monkey Mitford went red in the face and stamped his feet when we didn't know our fractions. Miss Clark's got tears in her eyes when she told us the story of Icarus, how his wings had melted when he flew too close to the sun, and how he had dropped like a stone past his father, Daedalus, into the sea. At lunchtime, Leaky and Coot argued for ages about whether a shot had gone over the line. I couldn't be bothered with it all. I went to the fence at the edge of the field and stared down over the town towards where I lived now. While I was standing there, Mrs. Dando, one of the auxiliaries, came over to me. She'd known my parents for years. You okay, Michael? She said. Fine. And the baby? Fine too. Not footballing today? I shook my head. Tell your parents I was asking, she said. She took a fruit gum out of her pocket and held it out to me. A fruit gum? It was what she gave the new kids when they were sad or something. Just for you, she whispered, and she winked. No, I said, no thanks. And I ran and did a brilliant sliding tackle on Coot. All day I wondered about telling somebody what I'd seen, but I told nobody. I said to myself it had been a dream. It must have been. Chapter 6. At home, there was a hole in the floor where Ernie's toilet had been. It was filled with new cement. The plywood screen had gone. Ernie's old gas fire had been taken away, and there was just a square black gap behind the hearth. The floor was soaking wet and it stank of disinfectant. Dad was filthy and wet and grinning. He took me into the wilderness. The toilet was standing there in the middle of the thistles and weeds. I thought it'd make a nice garden seat for us, he said. The gas fire and the plywood were down by the garage door, but they hadn't been taken inside. He looked at me and winked. Come and see what I found. He led me down to the garage door. Hold your nose, he said. He bent down and started to open a newspaper parcel. Ready? It was a parcel of birds. 4 of them. Found them behind the fire, he said. Must have got stuck in the chimney and couldn't get out again. You could make out that 3 of them were pigeons because of their grey and white feathers. The last one was pigeon-shaped, but it was all black. This was the last one I found, he said. It was under a heap of soot and dust that had fallen down the chimney. Is that a pigeon as well? Yes, been there a long time, that's all. He took my hand. Touch it, he said. Feel it, go on, it's okay. I let him hold my fingers against the bird. It was hard as stone. Even the feathers were hard as stone. Been there so long it's nearly a fossil, he said. It's hard as stone, I said. That's right, hard as stone. I went and washed my hands in the kitchen. Today was okay, he said. Yes, Leaky and Coot said they might come over on Sunday. That's good. You managed the buses okay then? I nodded. Might be able to drive you there next week, he said, once we're sorted out a bit. It's okay, I said. Mrs. Dando asked about the baby. You told her she was fine? Yes, I said. Good. Get some Coke and a sandwich or something. I'll make tea when the others come home. Then he went upstairs to have a bath. I looked down through the wilderness. I waited for ages, listening to Dad's bathwater banging its way through the pipes. I got my torch off the kitchen shelf. My hands were trembling. I went out past Ernie's toilet, the fire, and the dead pigeons. I stood at the garage door and switched the torch on. I took a deep breath, tiptoed inside. I felt the cobwebs and the dust, and I imagined that the whole thing would collapse. I heard things scuttling and scratching. I edged past the rubbish and the ancient furniture, and my heart was thudding and thundering. I told myself I was stupid. I told myself I'd been dreaming. I told myself I wouldn't see him again. But I did. There we go. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 6, and the next video we'll read chapters 7 and 8. In the meantime, have a think about those Vipers questions, see what ones you can answer, jot some notes down, and then we'll look at those when we come back for the next video. Bye!